Hey everybody, this is a Sliders review, and I literally just found out that today is International Women's Day. Who knew? I didn't, because I'm a man. And because so since I never knew this holiday, growing up, so I've now decided to try to crank out as many videos as possible as I can today, slowing down the other videos that I already recorded and stuff, so I'm gonna have to delay those. Chances are when these videos do upload, it probably won't be today, it'll probably be tomorrow, maybe, who knows. But hey, let's try to speed through this right here right now. So I'm here today to talk to you about Power Rangers Time Force episode 8, Jin's Revenge. So I decided for International Women's Day, who better to talk about than probably the toughest female Power Ranger in history, which is Jin, the Pink Time Force Ranger. In fact, Jin was probably so tough that she was probably tougher than most of the male Rangers in Ranger history. Jen was a very unique ranger. See, she came from the year 3000 with the rest of her time squadron. And then when Alex was killed by Rancid, she went on this revenge of trying to bring him in because Rancid went back through time to the year, what's it, 2000 or 2001? I forget. Yeah, so I think it was 2001 because after this they banned buildings being destroyed on Power Rangers and stuff because of 9/11. So um, so she went on this huge revenge thing and wanting to bring Rancid in and making him serve justice for killing her
Jen
lover.
is a very
And Alex was
headstrong, very
he was
determined,
Red
and
Ranger
extremely
in the year
tough
3000.
woman.
And her and the other
nothing
Rangers,
will
they
stop
weren't
her and
Rangers
getting
at that
arrested.
time. They were just
However,
working
when she
for
does
Time
go
Force
back police
until
force,
the 20th century. She falls in love with an ancestor of Alex by the name of Wes, who looks just like him but has blonde tips in his hair. And so at first she's reluctant to have Wes even join the team, but then she later allows him because she needs the chronomorphers to deactivate because they're tied to somebody's DNA. And so by this time, Wes had decided to leave his father's mansion and where he used to live, because Wes is a rich boy with lots of privileges and stuff. So he decides he's going to live in the clock tower without the other Rangers. It takes him a while to adjust, especially waking up so early in the morning. And so when he's looking for Jen, he can't find her because she's out training. So she's out punching a tree that has rope tied around it and stuff. And so they actually showed sweat coming down the Rangers arms and stuff. This is very unique. Now Time Force is probably by most considered the darkest of all the Power Rangers series, but it's dark on that of a kid's level. Don't think of it as super dark and gritty like the DCUE, but who knows what Netflix is going to do in the coming times. But by far this is the darkest Power Rangers series originally, until RPM probably outdid that with the whole world coming to an end type thing. So she's just training, and then she's having flashbacks of her and Alex and everything, and she looks at her engagement ring until Wes comes in and wants to train with her, and they goof around a little bit. Well, at some point in time, Rancid, who is the mutant leader, he unleashes Fat Catfish. Boy, that's a name for you right there. And from the Frozen Vault. So to display his power, Fat Catfish destroys some of the Cyclobots, the foot soldiers, Frax's foot soldiers. And Frax don't like this because Frax is a robot. But we find out something very interesting about him towards the end of the series. But this causes Frax to do his whole war against humanity and mutants. And he has a grudge against that of mutants and stuff like that. And so this is the beginning of that. Now Nadira, Rancid's daughter with the pink wig, man, I used to think that hair was real. back in the day. But I have no idea what the actress actually looks like without the wig. Because every time she's at conventions, she always wears the pink wig. I want to see what her real hair color looks like, but you can't find no pictures of it online. Anyway, the whole thing about the mutants is that they steal for money. That's just like their thing. A weird gimmick, but hey, it works because, they're cop Power Rangers, so hey, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, Nadidra, she loves money. And so she pretty much uses Fat Catfish to have him buy stuff for her with his earnings and stuff. So after she ditches him when he runs out of money, the Rangers show up. So Jen sees Fat Catfish and she recognizes him, and she remembers that he once tried to kill both her and Alex back in the day when they were cops and stuff. And he's all taunting her like, oh yeah, didn't Rancid like kill him and everything? And so this makes her like get upset and starts to grieve as the other Rangers are fighting him. And it's at the point where she gets so ticked off that like she loses control and she just attacks the crap out of like Fat Catfish. And she takes out her blaster point blank at his face and she is ready to fire. And, Lucas, he's all like, your blaster is set to like destroy mode and everything. And she doesn't care. The other Rangers had to literally wrestle her like weapon away from her as Fat Catfish like makes a flee for it. She is furious at this point and saying she ain't gonna stop until like she gets him and stuff. She is so adamant. Well, at some point in time, Phlox, he meets with Fat Catfish and like he tells like how like he ain't gonna tell Rancid that like you didn't destroy the Rangers and you fled and blah blah blah. But then he ends up taking an image of him and faking a message about how he's gonna make a deal with the Pink Ranger. So anyways, when Jen is by herself at the park just like reminiscing and everything, Flock's plan is in motion and he gives her that fake message. So when the other Rangers are like asleep, she wakes up in the middle of the night and she changes from her PJs into that of her cop gear. Doesn't even morph. She's gonna take him in the old-fashioned way. And so the fake message was that he was gonna rat out Rancid. And so like when Fat Catfish shows up at the warehouse, there is Rancid. He comes in and they're both confused because they thought the other person sent them a message. Well, Frax wants to destroy both of them. And so Jen comes in with 2 blasters and everything. Normally the cops only have 1, but she brought 2 just in case. And it's a good reason why. One of the coolest action scenes I've ever seen. So she tells Fat Catfish she ain't making no deal with him, but she'll take in both him and Rancid. This pisses off Rancid, thinking that Fat Catfish betrayed him. And so Jen is on the attack, and she's attacking everybody. Cyclobots, Rancid, Fat Catfish, you name it. She is kicking and punching her way through them. And then she takes off her blasters, and she just starts shooting like crazy. And so Wes, he wakes up to find out that she's gone. By this time, Jen is starting to slow down, but she does one of the coolest maneuvers ever. And when you see her fighting the people, it's hard to tell which is the actress and which is the stunt person because they both look very similar. But there is one scene they allowed Erin to do, and it's where she bounces off the car and she's like falling backwards and she blasts the Cyclobots with like both her blasters. It's one of the bossest moves I've ever seen. But then sadly, Rancid gets a hold of her, tosses her around like a rag doll, and is getting ready to strike her down with his sword until he needs his medicine. At this point in time, the Rangers show up and they stop him and they get Jen out of there. When we see Jen next, my God, there are so many bruises and cut marks like all over her face and body. And they showed every inch of like blood splattered like bruises. This is on Fox Kids back in that day. And Saban don't like that stuff, but he allowed that to happen. And so nowadays you don't see that at all. And normally if you see people that have like singe marks on, but hers were deep gash bruises. Her face has bruises around like the eyebrows, the eyes, the nose area, the lips are swollen. Like they really went there for this episode. And so when she wakes up, she sees Wes is like by her side asleep. It's touching, but she's still on a mission. So she leaves, and then we see Phlox and we see Fat Catfish arguing about something. He doesn't like being set up. In comes Jen, flying in, blasting her way through. And so then she takes out her giant blaster. And them things are huge, man. Like, I remember when I first saw them blast, I'm like, why does the Power Rangers have such huge blasters in this? So she puts it point blank in his face, and she tells him how, like, she doesn't like him, how she hates him, how he tried to destroy her and Alex, and how she's gonna shoot him. And then so he's cowering, like pleading with her and everything. The other Rangers, they show up to stop her once again. After they stop her, she takes out her chrono saber and she blasts the crap out of him. And as he's about to be exploded, he exposes his DNA, which causes them to grow huge. They call on their vehicles, and then they form the Megazord. The Cyclone defense is like too much for Fat Catfish, and well, then they form the Megazord. My bad. And so Wes lets her takes the lead and uses the Megazord saber to like destroy him once and for all. But the monsters here aren't destroyed. They just go really small, and then they are placed in like cryo like hibernesis or whatever. And so like after that, whatchamacallit, like she talks about like, you know, how much she loves like Alex and all this other stuff, how she'll never forget him, and then teases with Wes about how she appreciates what he did and everything. And so then what is it, Katie and Trip, they like tease those two and pretend like they act out. Like Katie is like Jen professing her love to Wes and everything. And then so this ticks off Jen and she just chases them. I gotta say, Jen is technically not the leader of the Power Rangers. She's more like the leader of like the Time Force Squadron for those group of Rangers that's in the past. Because in the Sentai West character, the Red Ranger still takes over in the field and everything, but Jen is kind of like, she's kind of the leader and kind of the not. Like, it's kind of like confusing at times because some people wonder, and of course even her and the dude who plays like Wes, even they're a little confused at it. But the actress who plays Jen feels like she is the leader, and in some ways she kind of is, you know, and stuff. Because Wes, he's just your typical Red Ranger being thrust into this and not knowing what anything's about. And but he's still like a good leader, but she's still overall like full-time command. Happy International Women's Day, everybody. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. Bye.